Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to be starting our showcase of Zombicide 2nd Edition, specifically the Washington ZC campaign. So this is the first time there's ever been a campaign structure for Zombicide, and it came with as an expansion for Zombicide 2nd Edition, and it's kind of set in the, Washington DC area and rescuing the president, things like that. So eventually here we're going to be getting around to playing the introductory scenario in that campaign. But before we get started, I did want to discuss how you go about setting up and playing a game of Zombicide. So first of all, let's start with setup. Setup is pretty straightforward. You always want to find your mission guide, and you can see here that we are doing M1, Facing the Impossible. This is the first mission of the campaign, and that has all the information on it that you would need. It tells you what tiles you're going to use, where in the grid they're going to fit, and then you basically just kind of look at the picture to see how they're rotated. And you'll notice that things usually line up pretty nicely. Once you have your kind of main board area established, then normally you're going to want to go through and place out objective tokens, which look like this on the board. You're going to want to place those out anywhere where you see an objective printed on the map, and you're also going to want to take a pimp weapon crate and put it over top of an open crate, yellow crate like this. So used to be that they would tell you on the actual scenario sheet where objectives would go. Now they've made it easier that they've just said, all right, we're going to pre-populate all that stuff on the map. The reason you put the tokens here is so that once you have picked up and looted that crate, you pick up the token, you can see that the crate's been opened and it's no longer available to loot or pick up said objective. These cards here are replacing the objectives, and that's part of the new campaign rules, which we will talk about shortly. So we'll get around to all that. So you've set up the map, you've set up your pimp weapon crates and your objective tokens. In this case, we put out these cards and just kind of overlay them. You can see that the artwork kind of matches up. And then you're going to look and you're going to determine where your zombie spawn points are. And so I got all this information again from our map here, and you can see one is in a very specific spot, so we're always going to start spawning at that location. And then these blue locations are where your survivors start. In this scenario, we're all separated. Usually there's just one starting survivor location, or maybe two, but that gives you all the information you need to know to set up your map. In this scenario specifically, you can see that some noise tokens have been pre-populated, and then that's again a scenario specific rule, and we'll talk about noise tokens here in a second. The last thing you're going to want to do is set up your player dashboards. Now, Zombicide is a cooperative game, and it's scaled to the point where you always need to have, I guess it's too tough to scale for multiple survivors. So it is a game that always needs to be played with 6 characters, but you can play it solo, and it's not hard to play with 6 total heroes under your control. So you can see here that our dashboard, you can pop out the card. So basically you want to pass out the dashboards equally to the number of human people you're having play with you. So in my case, I have all 6 here in front of me. You can't see them all, but you're going to take all your characters that you want. Used to be in the base box, there was just 6 characters and you were going to use them all. In Zombicide 2nd Edition, there are 6 main survivors and then 6 children survivors. You can intermix them if you want. And in the Washington ZC campaign, there was 6 survivors. So those are the ones I have chosen, just because it seemed thematic. Also, they have some specific all-out bonuses, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So these, I basically dealt out my 6 boards. I gave each board a character, and then for each character, say for example here, Mindy, I gave her all the purple tokens, and I gave her miniature of the purple base. Everybody resets their adrenaline points to 0 starts with their health tracker at 3, and you automatically get your blue special ability here because you are starting in the blue zone. So that's pretty simple. That's how you set up your characters. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to pass around your starting weapons, and these are going to be dealt out. You can either do them randomly or you can pass them out specifically. It really doesn't matter. I think the rule book says to deal them out randomly, but you're basically going to give each person a starting weapon. I have in the past played where I have given characters two starting pistols because they can be dual wielded, and left one character with nothing. It's not clear in the rules whether that's legal or not, but it's something that you could house rule for certain. But other than that, you have your character set up. Again, you place your miniatures in the starting zone. In this case, in this specific scenario, I had to place one in each of the 6 zones, so they're all spread out. They're all, this is the opening scenario, so they haven't found each other yet. They're all strangers at this moment. All right. At this point, we have set up a normal game of Zombicide. For the campaign specific setup, the only thing that really changes is that you're going to want to find the objective card pack, and there's a unique pack. They're all like in a little cellophane wrapper for each campaign or each scenario in the Zombicide Washington ZC campaign. So you can see here that M1 was on all of these cards. It's there in the middle. And so these first 2, which say note, these are set off to the side, and at some point or another it's going to tell me to draw one or the other or choose between them. One of these objectives is going to tell me to look at one of the notes. The rest of these you can see are placed out, and they have the tile that they're going to go on. So this is the 8R tile, and these numbers are basically just the objective numbers. And then you can see that the artwork matches up. Do not peek at the other side. The other side has the surprises and the storylines and everything that make this a campaign versus just a regular Zombicide game. Other than that, if you're playing Washington ZC, you're going to want to make sure you have your day and nighttime tracker. This scenario we were told to start at noon, so we set this at noon. And you also want to make sure you have your all-out dice if you are playing with that module. So you also want to make sure you have, if you're playing with the day-night module, some light tokens. You basically have all of your then cards, your basic search cards. These are, what are these guys called? Special agent cards here, your pimp weapon cards, your zombie spawn cards, and for Zombicide 2nd Edition, you have a specific abomination deck. So you've got all your decks set aside, and we are pretty much ready to play at this point. So let's talk about the basic rules of Zombicide. The basic rules of Zombicide is essentially every survivor is going to get to take a turn, and then the zombies are going to activate. On a survivor's turn, they get to start with 3 actions to do various things. The most basic thing is to move. So you spend 1 action to move from one zone to the next. It has to be orthogonally. You cannot move diagonally. On these map spaces, the crosswalks are essentially creating zones all the way up to the walls. And then the walls within the buildings create separate zones. So for example, these are 2 separate zones here, and this is a third, whereas this one is one giant zone. But this is its own zone, this is its own zone, this is its own zone. So when you move, you can move orthogonally to an adjacent zone. You can also open a door as a move action. So you have to be in the same zone as a closed door, and in Zombicide 2nd Edition, the doors are pre-pinned just like the crates were. The doors are always going to be there. You don't put a token out until you've opened the door, unless a scenario specifically tells you we're adding a door here, in which case you can flip the token over to the closed side. But if you are in the zone with a closed door and you have a weapon that gives you the ability to open a door, for example, the crowbar here, you can see has this open door symbol, so I can use my crowbar, whereas the baseball bat does not. There's no symbol there, so you can't use a baseball bat to open a door. You can also engage in combat with a zombie, which we'll talk about more in a minute, and that's one of the most common ones because obviously that's what this game is all about. You can also interact with an objective or a token. So in that case, you can search, interact with a pimp weapon crate to gain a drop pimp weapon card. You can interact with an objective for the campaigns. It's these cards. Or anything else that may appear on the scenarios. There may be a specific person you need to talk to. I'm not sure how the campaign is going to run. You can also search if you're inside a building. So if you're inside a building and there are no zombies in your same room, you can kind of loot the room, search the room. And you can only do this once per turn, but any number of people, any number of survivors can loot the same room once per turn. When you do that, you basically spend an action, you search, you draw the top card of the standard deck, and you get to add that card to your inventory. The last thing you can do is specifically make noise. So anytime, a lot of times when you use certain weapons, for example, we looked at the crowbar earlier that opens the door rather quietly, but the fire axe here can also open a door, but it's noisy. So when you use the fire axe, you make noise. So you would take one of these tokens, you place it in your zone, and noise can attract zombies when they activate. But you can also say, I know that Mindy here is not going to have much else to do. And let's say she starts here in this zone. And this zone is filled with a bunch of zombies. And I haven't learned all these guys' names yet. Anton here just finished up clearing this zone, but he's stuck right here. And or maybe he's stuck right here and he made one noise or something like that. Mindy can specifically say make 2 noise and then move out of the zone to draw zombies this way. So that's why you would want to make noise, specifically to draw zombies away from specific characters. All right, so those are the actions that you can take on your turn, and you start the game being able to take 3 actions of your choice. As soon as you have reached the orange level in adrenaline points, basically you've leveled up to the yellow level, you are going to gain a 4th action. So you can actually take 4 actions on your turn. All right, so when you go about, moving's very basic, opening doors is very basic. The really only thing we need to talk about at this point is combating the zombies. So let's get some out here just as an example. Okay, so here are some zombies in this zone. Now Anton has a pistol at his disposal, and you can see the range of his pistol. Hold this up a little closer here. The range of his pistol is 0 or 1, so you can use it in his zone or the zone adjacent to him. In this case, he rolls 1 die. He's trying to get 3+, and it deals 1 amount of damage, a single point of damage, if it hits. This +1 symbol we're going to talk about in a minute. That's the all-out stat for that weapon. So if Anton is right here, he can fire into this zone. In this case, we know we're just rolling 1 die. We're looking for a 3+. In this case, we would miss because we only got a 2. But as long as it's a 3 or higher, so say we rolled a 5, he does 1 point of damage. Since these guys are both walkers, they both just take 1 point of damage to kill, so he gets to choose. It really doesn't matter. He kills one, and then he gains 1 adrenaline point. If this was Anton, he would move his thing over 1 point. If, however, you happen to have, say Mindy here. So Mindy has the baseball bat. It has to be used in the same zone. Obviously, it's a melee weapon, so it has a range of 0. But she gets to roll 2 dice, all right, on a 3+, 1 point of damage. All right. So this symbol on my special Zombicide dice is basically 1. So that one would have missed. So in this instance, she could remove 1, but 1 stays put. If, however, she rolled this, that means she could do 1 point of damage once and 1 point of damage a second time. Now, Walkers only take 1 point of damage to defeat. Runners only take 1 point of damage to defeat. In Zombicide 2nd Edition, they made all the walkers kind of a light gray and all the runners a dark gray, but also the fatties a dark gray, but the fatties are pretty easy to tell. Fatties, however, take 2 points of damage to defeat. So, in this situation, Mindy here could use her baseball bat to say get rid of the runner and one walker. What she cannot do is combine these together and say, all right, I'm taking 2 singles and adding it together to make a 2 point to take out the walker. In this instance, I mean the fatty. She is not taking out the fatty. Now, Ashley here is a little different. Ashley's fire axe can do 2 points of damage in a single swipe. So say Ashley rolls this 1 die on a 4+, she does 2 damage. If this was Ashley, Ashley could take out the fatty. She could take out the walker and kind of overkill it. You know, that extra damage is just lost. But with the fire axe, which does 2 points of damage on a single hit, she can now remove the fatty. So that is basic combat in a nutshell. Now, some of these other weapons that we're going to see obviously are going to be adding more dice, adding more range. Abominations need a 3+, and there's very few weapons in the game that can do 3+ damage in a single hit. What you're usually looking for is the Molotov cocktail, which is the 6 on these dice, that basically burns everything up in its space. So when we see that, if we see an abomination, we'll talk more about how to take care of it then. All right, so that is combat. If you ever are using a ranged weapon and are firing into a zone, so say Anton here who had a pistol, and you're firing a ranged weapon into the zone, there is targeting priority that needs to happen. The priority, the first thing you have to kill before you can damage anything else is the fatty. If you think about it thematically, they are bigger, take up more space, and if the zombies have any intelligence, they would hide behind the fatty, or they just get in the way. So if you are firing into a space with a fatty, make sure you have a weapon that can do at least 2 points of damage, or else you're just firing bullets that aren't going to hurt this big guy, and it's not going to do anything. Also, if there's ever a survivor within a zone that you are firing a ranged weapon into, any misses that you hit on your die, say for example this, hit the survivor. So generally you don't want to fire into a zone with a survivor, because friendly fire in that instance would damage your partner. I think that covers everything that you would need to know about the basics of the game. Friendly fire, targeting priority. This targeting priority is different than in the first edition. So that is something to consider if you are playing Zombicide 2nd Edition. The targeting priority has been changed. All right. So we've talked about everything that the players can do on their hero turns, on the survivor's turn, and everybody gets to go before the zombies do anything. So you can attempt to clear out as many zombies as possible. Obviously, ones in your same zone are going to be a priority for you. Once you have finished all of the survivors' turns, you're going to activate, and it's the zombies are going to get a turn. So the first thing you're going to do is activate each zombie that's already on the board. And what they want to do is take the shortest route to the closest survivor. So in this instance, they're actually very split up, because this survivor's 2 away, this one's 2 away, and this one's 2 away. So that's not a very good example, but let's say this is our setup now. So first thing they're going to check for is line of sight. Can they see a survivor? Can the zombie see a survivor? Line of sight is in a straight line. It's not diagonal. It cannot go through walls. If it goes into a building, it can go into the first room, but say this building extended in a big long hallway this way and was separate rooms, they can only see into the first room of a building. They can't see, even if the doors are all open, they can't just see down the hall. So if there was a survivor right here in this building and this door was open, the fatty would have line of sight and could go in there. Generally though, there's usually just 1 or 2 options. They're going to take the closest one. So in this case, these guys would both travel this way. They each move Zombies just move one space every time towards their closest target. Very simple. So these guys would go here. This guy would go here towards this survivor. This guy, like we said before, has the option. So in the case that there's just one, we as the player get to choose. So we'll send him this way. If, however, there was this setup, and this is different for Zombicide 2nd edition, based from the 1st edition, we would split them. So one would go this way, one would go this way, and one would go this way. If a zombie is already in a space with a survivor at the beginning of their activation, they actually get to bite the survivor and do normally 1 point of damage. The fatties, however, do 2 points of damage. So that's why you always want to make sure you're not starting your turn in a space or ending your turn in a space with zombies in it, because instead of moving, they'll just bite you and you only have 3 points of life. So again, very simple. Usually you just find the zombies, you move them towards the survivor, and then that's it. The only unique thing from the basic rules is the runners. Now these are the dark gray zombies that always look like they're in motion. These guys actually get a second activation after everyone else is activated. So say we go back and this is how everything looked after we moved everybody. This runner would actually be allowed to take a second activation and move into the survivor's space. But in all of these instances, the zombies used up all of their activations to move into the space, and then they just sit there. So the survivors are going to get a chance to take them out on their next turn before they are bitten. After you have activated and moved, or attacked with all of the zombies that are already on the board, then you're going to spawn new ones. So always starting, and I know it's off camera, but the number 1 spawn point is up here at the top of this street. Starting with the number 1 spawn point, and then always going usually in clockwise or counterclockwise. Just make sure you're always going in the same direction. You're going to draw a zombie spawn card from the top of the deck. And so for that number 1, we would spawn this one, and it says Walker Rush. Well, that's unfortunate. But what you're looking for is what is the highest level of adrenaline points in your group. So say we have one person who is in the yellow, but no one else is. We still look to this yellow line here, and we're going to spawn 6 walkers on that spawn point. If everyone, like at the beginning of the game, starts in blue, then we just look at the bottom one. But if at any point in time someone pushes up into orange, then we look at orange. Even if everyone else is back in the blue, it's the highest person no matter what, no matter where they are. This card in particular has the rush keyword on it, which is new for Zombicide 2nd edition. In this instance, you would place those walkers down, and then they would actually get to activate. So Ashley, who has been sitting up here in that spawn point, would actually get eaten alive in that instance, because they would all be spawned, and then they would all get to activate because of the rush keyword. And it's only those walkers. It's only the ones you placed. These two do not get an additional action. So let me just look through the cards here and see. Looking for some specific cards to show all you guys. Okay, so this is an example of a kind of a normal, this is what a normal card looks like. Just says walkers. You look for whatever color your highest survivor is in, and you spawn that many. You put them down. They don't do anything else. This one is rush, where you put those miniatures down, and then you activate just the ones you just spawned. Then there is these cards in red, which gives all of the zombies of that type an extra activation. So this one actually doesn't spawn new zombies. This one just gives all fatties an extra activation. You can see, however, though, that if you are still in the blue, if you get this card at the beginning of the game, you're actually safe. Nothing happens. But in every other level, all fatties gets an extra movement. So if this fatty, which moved in here earlier and then was done, drew this card, it would chomp on Anton here. And then the last card that we are hoping not to draw is the Abomination card. It's always going to be 1. You can see in the blue, we would get lucky here and it wouldn't come out. When you draw an Abomination card, you then need to grab your Abomination deck, and you're going to draw the top card. And then this tells us we need to find the Wild Abomination and put him in the zone that we were just spawning for. So in this way, you can prepare your Abomination deck if there's ones you think are too hard to play against or thematically don't fit or whatever it may be. You can only put the Abominations that you want to play with in your Abomination specific deck. All right, and then that's it. At the end of a round, what you're going to do is remove all of the noise tokens, unless a scenario rule tells you to leave them. For example, those will always stay there. And then it's the hero's turn. In the campaign game, or if you are playing with the day-night module, you would simply tick to the next hour for the next round. And then the night, in the night phase, you're going to gain some extra rules. We're going to cover those when it happens. And then that is basically it. Every scenario has a specific objective. For us in this one, it's going to be to pick up all the objective cards, and we have to open both doors of the diner, which are right here. Thematically, this diner is creating a stopgap. The zombies all want to go to whatever's happening over here, and we need to let them through to clear out the rest of this area. So that is what we are setting up for at the moment. I'm realizing that I missed one action that you can take, and that is to rearrange. So say, for example, you have 2 weapons that you're carrying around, and then you search a room and you pick up a 3rd weapon. Well, you have 3 backpack slots here, which the card will sit standing upright. And you can carry whatever you want in your backpack, but to be able to use it, to roll the dice for it, you need to equip it in one of your hands. So as an action, you can rearrange, basically take things out of your backpack, take a card out of your hand, put it in your backpack, move cards around on your board is essentially what you're doing. All right, so I believe I have given everyone the basics on how to play Zombicide and some of the differences between Zombicide 2nd edition and 1st edition. Let's give a little introduction into the campaign and this scenario specifically, and then we're going to play a couple rounds of the campaign, and we're going to stop the video there. At this point, however, I want to give people fair warning that spoilers are ahead. Some of you may even consider the little introductory text that I'm about to read a spoiler, so I'm giving it to you now. But once we get started, the second I pick up one of these objective cards, it could spoil that for you in the future. Now, again, this is just the introductory scenario, so mind-blowing story twists are probably not going to happen, but if you want to be completely surprised with your campaign of Washington, D.C., then I would stop watching at this point. But if you care to see how these objective cards push a storyline along in Zombicide, or have no plans of getting this game and you're going to be living your Zombicide life through me, that's fine. Please continue to watch. We will play through again a couple rounds, and then we will finish this scenario up in an extended playthrough video. So again, at this point, if you do not want to have any spoilers as to the introductory mission of the Washington ZC campaign, stop watching now. You have been warned. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with our playthrough. So now we can see the entire board here, and any round of Zombicide, you are allowed to activate your survivors, your heroes, in any order that you wish. At this point, it really doesn't matter though, because there's no zombies on the floor. So there are a few things that I want to do, and I think I'm just going to start very simply with making sure I get, I'm going to try and get these 2 doors open. So let's start with Tess here, who is our orange player, and she's going to take, again, she gets 3 actions. So she's going to take her first action here to move into this zone, and then she's going to use her crowbar to open a door. So I will grab a open door token here, place it over here so that I can be reminded that this door has been opened. And now, I didn't cover this in the how to play rules because it's just easier to show you, but Anytime that you open up a building for the first time, you need to spawn zombies in that building. Now, in the previous iterations of Zombicide, you had to draw a zombie spawn card for every single room in the building, and it was a little intense. In Zombicide 2nd Edition, you only have to do that in the dark rooms. So we're only going to do it for here and way up there. So you'll get to see zombie spawn happens in these rooms the same way it would during the zombie phase. So we're going to start way up there first and then come down here. So I'm just going to flip over the top zombie card, and it is Fatty Rush. Okay, but you can see that we are in the blue. We just started, so everybody's in the blue. So there's actually no fatties to rush. We're going to spawn 0 fatties and rush 0 fatties. So it's a little bit of a bonus for us there. And then we're going to spawn down here. So the next card is a Walker Rush. Okay, well that's fine. So Zombicide, you end up using a lot of miniatures. There's a ton of miniatures, especially if you did the Kickstarter, and you will use all of them. So we'll simply put 4 walkers into this zone, and then since this is a Walker Rush card, they will move into this whole big zone here. But then that's it. They are done. So Tess now is in an interesting situation because 4 walkers is kind of a lot to deal with on one turn with only a minor starting weapon. If I move into this room, that's going to be my 3rd action, and these guys on their activation would move into this room. So I don't think that's really something I want to deal with. There's a pimp weapon crate in there, but I wouldn't be able to search it until I got rid of the zombies, and I'm only rolling a single die. So yeah, it'd be suicide running in there. So unfortunately, yeah, she just has a crowbar. I think I'm just going to let those guys come out of this room for right now. So I think I'm just going to move 1 more right into there. And that's her activation. She's done. Let's see who we want to activate now. All right, let's go with Angelo. He's our green player up here. So he's going to start by opening up the door that is just above him there. No, but he can't. He's got the pistol. All right, so who else can open doors? Just Tess and Ashley. Interesting. Ashley's up here, so maybe we need to activate Ashley next. All right, so Ashley is unfortunately nowhere. The closest door for her in here. Oh, she can go here. So let's do that. Let's go here. Then we will open up the door in front of her there. So it's to the same building that Angela wanted to go into. But she will open up this door. It will cause noise. So we're going to put a noise token in that zone because the axe opens doors with noise. It's noisy. And now, just like last time, we'll have to spawn 2. So we'll try and always start at the top and work our way down. So we've got 3 walkers, no rush capabilities, so they're just going to start in that zone way up there. All right, and then we need to spawn walkers again, but just 1. All right, and then this room is all one big room, but it is not in the dark, so we don't spawn zombies there. So Ashley at this point has taken 2 actions. Now again, if we move her into this room, the zombies all that are all right there are going to move in, and she'd have to take care of them all in 1 turn. Now that could be possible because Angelo can go 1, 2, 3, so he can be 1 move away. Now he's got a ranged action, but Ashley would already be in the zone, so I think Ashley is actually just going to stay put. Yeah, I could make noise, but I don't feel like I need to. I really don't want to move. Although Ashley's the one with the ability to open doors, so yeah, let's keep her continuing to open doors. All right, so I'm going to move her into there. All right, so Ashley's gone. Angelo's his turn's going to be very simple. He's going to go 1, 2, 3, and be prepared to shoot into this room on his on the next round. All right, let's get these cards out of the way. So that was Angelo. All right, Justin down here also has a pistol, so he cannot open doors. So he's just going to, yeah, 1, 2, 3, and he's done. Anton also just has a pistol. Because, see, I can't search out in the streets. I actually have to get into a building to search. And the 2 buildings that I've opened up, it would be suicide to run in there. So Anton's just going to go 1, 2, and he is actually just going to sit right here to... No, let's put him here, and both of these guys can fire into this room on the next turn. So yeah, we are ready to go. I feel like Justin maybe should have just stayed right here. That's fine. He can come. Ashley's going to be able to go 1, 2, 3. So she's not going to be able to open that door. So maybe we'll have them go in here first. Okay. And then last but not least, Mindy has the baseball bat, but she also is not going to be able to open any doors. So she's going to go 1. And she's actually just going to stop right there. Normally there's a lot more you can do. Normally you guys are all clumped together so people can, you can send one person to open a door and then everybody else can go take on the zombies, but everybody started in a different location this turn, so oh well, that is it. So we now move on to the zombie activation phase. These guys don't have line of sight on anyone, so they move towards the closest noise tokens, which means they would go right here, and then they're going to continue to just pound against that door. They're actually not going to come out. So maybe I should have had, although she still just has the crowbar. Maybe we'll just leave those guys there for a while. All right. And then these guys, again, they have line of sight to this room, but that's it. When you're inside a building, you basically have line of sight to the next room and then no further. So they actually cannot see our survivors, but our survivors each count as a noise. You know, even just your breathing, I guess zombies can hear. And then the noise token makes this the noisiest spot actually on the board, other than this one. So either way, the zombies are going to head this direction. So, I mean, it wasn't much. We knew exactly where they were going. So there they go. All right. So everybody is activated at this point. Now we need to spawn. So again, we're going to spawn up at number 1. Then we'll always go clockwise. This will be 2, and this will be 3. So 1 is going to get an abomination. Are you kidding me? Okay, so we go ahead and we just draw the top abomination card, and it is Abomina Wild. So Molotov effects in the Abomina Wild zone only kill the Abomina Wild. Other actors are not affected, and other related game effects are ignored. Interesting. So the Abomina Wild can still be taken out by the Molotov cocktail, but it if I get everybody in a big group, it's not going to take them out. So let me take a minute here to find my Abomina Wild. Alright, so we have our Abomina Wild token here. There's only a few Abomination cards that actually will spawn an Abomination when you're still in the blue. So we unfortunately are in trouble. We're basically going to be running away from this thing for a very long time. Because I have absolutely no way of defeating him. So, alright. And we're still not even done spawning. So, alright. Extra activation, all runners, so no one activates on the blue, so that's good. And then we have runners over here, just 1. So thankfully we get a little bit of a break, because I'm going to need to be coming out of this door up here in a minute. Alright, so that is the end of the zombie phase. I've already cleaned up the noise tokens, so we are ready to go. Let me pull that off and decide. I think Angelo and Anton definitely need to figure out what they're doing here. And they cannot stay put there, because if they end up in the same zone as an abomination, it's going to be very hard for them to get out and continue to stay ahead of this thing. So it still just moves one per activation, one space. So I need to keep that in mind. All right, so what I'm going to do, they both have just a standard starting pistol. So I did not get a chance to talk about going all out previously, because I think it's just easier to show you. So all of the cards in this game are from the Washington ZC expansion, which introduced the all out mechanic. So you can see here that the pistol has a range of 0 to 1, so I can fire into that building because the door is open. I can see one spot into the building. I roll 1 dice and I hit on a 3+ for 1 hit. So all of those walkers I can take out, but I only have 3 activations, so I'm only going to be able to take out 3 of them. But I can, in addition to my 1 dice, roll 1 all-out die. These kind of darker die, I know they're hard to see. These red die are from the original Zombicide game. But these darker ones have this break symbol as the 1. All the rest of them are hits, just like this one. On this one, the Molotov cocktail is a 6. So, and the zombie head is a 1. If we roll our all-out die and we get a 3+, bonus. That's an additional hit. But if we ever roll the break, so this is a risk you are taking, your weapon breaks. You have to discard it. It is no longer yours. And this is risky early on, but I basically I need to not forget about that objective in the corner. So what I really need to do here right now is clear out these zombies and then run into this building and stay ahead of the abomination. So Angelo, who is our green player, is going to go ahead and go all out with his pistols into that room. So first action, combat action. Okay, so this is a hit, this is not. So we did 1 point of damage. We can take away 1 walker. Whichever one, it doesn't matter. They are all equal, all created equal. And then he is going to go again, all out. All right, so we only needed 3+, so we actually take out 2. So that was perfect. So 2 more, boom, boom. He gets 2 more points of adrenaline. And then he is, gonna come down here. There we go. All right, so he's gonna move. That's his final activation. All right. So then next up, we're going to have Angelo go. He's got the exact same weapon, so he's also going to go all out on this ballerina walker chick. And we crushed her with 2 6s. Unfortunately, the extra 6s don't do us any good. All right, so then he's going to take his second action to move in here, and his third action is going to be to take this pimp weapon here. So we just simply remove that token from the board, and we get to draw. And we have an automatic shotgun. So this one is going to be doing 2 damage, but that's not enough. Abomination takes 3. So I can at least take out a fatty with this thing. But you see this requires shotgun shells. So if I find ammunition, it's going to have to be shotgun shells and not bullets. And it's ranged weapon. I get to roll 3 dice now, though. I hit on a 4+, I hit for 2 each, but if I go all out with this weapon, I'm rolling 6 total dice. So, anyways, he basically is going to automatically equip that, and that's the end of his turn. So, Justin now also has a pistol. So Justin could go 1, 2 and take out this runner, but he only has 1 shot at it with 1 die. 2 if he goes all out. Instead, I'm going to have Ashley go first. So Ashley's going to take her first activation. She's going to go here. Then she's going to open up this door with noise. So there we go. Put a noise. In this scenario, the noise tokens are almost meaningless because there's always going to be 6 up here. So let's see here. I need to spawn a zombie. All right, walkers times 6. Are you serious? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is one of my favorites from the Kickstarter. It's the one-man band walker. Pretty cool little miniature. All right. So we got a couple of them back, but there's 6 zombies in there, and that's all they're gonna do. There's only 1 dark zone, so we are good. But then again, she's taken her 2 actions, so I don't really want to move her in there, but maybe that would be the best thing to do, and move Justin in. Okay, yeah, let's do it. All right, so she's gonna move in. That's her 3rd action. And then Justin's gonna start his turn. He's gonna move in here now. He's gonna have 2 chances with his all-out pistol to shoot into this room. All right, so that's 2. Boom, boom. And we're gonna go again. And just 1. We'll leave the one-man band up there. Okay, so much more manageable now in the next go. Okay, so everybody on this half of the board has gone, so let's now have these 2 go. So I believe, yeah, no matter what, even if you're inside the building, it's as if everybody locked all the doors from the outside and then ran off. You still need a weapon that can open a door. So we can't just assume that Justin walked over and unlocked this door. So Mindy here is still can't get into that room, which would be helpful to put 2 melee people waiting for her in that room. So I think what we're gonna do, actually, this will work. So Tess is gonna come down and she'll open this door. Now, since we already spawned this room, this doesn't do anything. We don't spawn more zombies. And then what is she gonna do? So she came down, she opened the door, then I'm actually gonna move her back up there. Yeah. All right, so Mindy, what she's going to do is she's going to come in here. She's going to spend her 2nd activation to interact with this card. And so we get to pick it up and we get to see what it says. Now, warning, this would be considered a spoiler. So this is the first true spoiler we have had in this scenario. So here we go. The grocery store owner is hiding there. He's offering his best stuff if we can escort him to safety. It may take a little time. What should we do? The survivor makes a choice. Escort the owner. Place a survivor miniature that wasn't used next to the survivor. He is a companion and the survivor is his leader. The owner has no skill. Remove him as soon as he reaches a street zone on the edge of the board. Then all survivors earn 5 AP. Okay, so, earning AP is a double-edged sword because you get additional actions, you get, special actions, but you also start spawning worse zombies. But I think the name of the game here is to escort these people out, and here it would be pretty easy because it's just 1, 2 out the door. So we are going to go ahead and do that. So I need to find a random survivor miniature. I'm going to use the kids because they'll be easier to tell. So Mindy is now escorting this little short shop owner. All right. So what I can actually do, since I now have somebody in tow, is take Mindy and move her one space this way. Anytime you're escorting someone, when you move, they move with you. You don't have to take an extra movement action or anything like that. So that was 1 to move in, 2 to interact, 3 to move out. So at this point now, everybody has gone. We get to do another zombie activation phase. So starting with the abomination, yes, there is a noise over here, but the abomination can see Angelo. So he is simply going to move, which is where he would moved anyways, even with the noise. The runner is going to move. These guys are going to move, and then I am pretty sure, because this is the rules, this is what the rules state. They are going to the White House whenever zombies choose the zone with the 6 noise tokens as their destination. They move toward it as if all doors were open, but closed doors still block them. So if they look out into the street, they see nothing. So they don't have line of sight on any survivors. That's deliberately why I kept Tess right here. So their point of where they want to go is this zone with all the noise. But this door is still locked. So I believe they just kind of ram up against the wall here and act like zombies. And they're going to stay right there. So everybody has activated once. The runners, now we get to come back and activate them again. Now all they get to do is move into Angelo's zone, and then that's it. So we are done now. Yeah, all right. So now we need to spawn. So back up there at the top again, we are getting 2 runners. So 1, 2 runners. Okay, and then down here below me, we are getting 1 fatty. So this is our first fatty. And then we are getting 3 walkers. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, at this point I think I'm going to pause the video and we will pick back up the rest of this playthrough in an extended playthrough video coming up very soon. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, including the remainder of this playthrough, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.